Welcome to this presentation on interpersonal communication. Please note that the audio for this video was generated using AI. Please note the copyright information on this slide. Let's begin with Chapter 2, an overview of interpersonal communication. In this chapter, we will explore what interpersonal communication is, its purposes, components, the process of perception, models of interpersonal communication, and essential interpersonal communication skills. Interpersonal communication involves sending and receiving messages with others about personal experiences and information. It includes both formal and informal exchanges, can occur face-to-face or through mediated contexts, and helps individuals achieve personal and professional goals. Interpersonal communication helps meet personal needs, as illustrated by Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs demonstrates how interpersonal communication fulfills essential human requirements. Interpersonal communication allows us to meet personal needs, learn about ourselves and others, build and maintain relationships, and reduce uncertainty about others. It also influences our self-concept and self-esteem. According to uncertainty reduction theory, people seek to know what others will say and do. We experience cognitive and behavioral uncertainty, and as Charles Berger and Richard Calabrese suggest, we try to reduce unknowns and anxiety when meeting new people. There are 3 strategies to learn more about someone and reduce uncertainty: passive, active, and interactive strategies. Self-disclosure and evaluations of others' abilities and social expectations also play a role in determining future interactions. Interpersonal communication involves a sender or source, receiver, message, channel, feedback, environment, and noise. The sender or source initiates communication, creates the message through encoding, selects the transmission channel, and shapes the message based on individual characteristics. The receiver decodes the message using their 5 senses. Understanding is influenced by the environment and the receiver's attitudes, beliefs, history, and more. If the receiver doesn't understand, communication has not occurred. Communication partners serve as both senders and receivers simultaneously. A message can be any textual, verbal, or nonverbal aspect of communication used to convey meaning. Messages may be transmitted intentionally or unintentionally, and the essential function is to communicate meaning. The channel is the pathway or medium through which messages are conveyed. It impacts the message, its reception, and the feedback received. Channels can be traditional or new media. Feedback is information shared back to the sender, allowing communication to continue. It can be internal or external and may be positive, negative, neutral, or ambiguous. The environment is the context in which communication occurs. It affects communication and can relate to personal past experiences or backgrounds. Environments may overlap or remain separate. Noise is anything that hinders or distorts a message. Without noise, messages are received and understood. Noise can be physical, psychological, semantic, or physiological, and can negatively impact communication. Perceptions involve acquiring, interpreting, and organizing information via the 5 senses. This continuous process shapes individuals and their communication. The stages include attending, organizing, and interpreting. Attending is focusing on specific objects or stimuli. Selective perception involves focusing on certain things while ignoring others. We attend to things that are intense, unusual, repetitive, important, or personally motivating, as well as based on our emotional state. Organizing is making sense of and defining incoming stimuli. We use schemes to classify perceptions such as physical, role, social behavior, and psychological constructs. Interpreting assigns meaning to stimuli to evaluate and understand their worth. This process is shaped by personal experience, relational involvement, expectations, assumptions, and relational satisfaction. A model is a simplified representation of a system, often shown graphically, that highlights crucial components and connections. Models help us understand real-world communication, increase clarity, and assist in decision-making. There are interaction and action models. What kinds of models pertain to interpersonal communication? Interaction and action models are types of communication models. Action models describe one-directional communication from source to receiver. Berlow's SMCR model and the early Schramm model are examples of action models. These linear models involve the sender encoding a message through a channel to the receiver, who decodes it. Feedback is not immediate. The Shannon-Weaver model is another example. The Shannon and Weaver model is an example of an action model of communication. Communication is not linear, but a process where messages are interpreted based on individual factors. Communication is unsuccessful when feedback is absent, ineffective, or incomplete. The early Schramm model and Shannon-Weaver model are linear, with immediate feedback missing. The Schramm model is another linear model of communication. In the SMCR model, the sender encodes a message through a channel to the receiver. Communication is not linear but a process, and is unsuccessful if feedback is absent or ineffective. The early Schramm model and Shannon-Weaver model are both linear action models. The SMCR model is a foundational action model for understanding communication. In transaction models, communication is continuous, and both sender and receiver are responsible for effective communication. Interaction models also exist, as well as one-directional action models. The Watzlawick, Bevan, and Jackson model describes communication as circular and complex, reciprocal and equal, with messages based on interpretation and involving encoding, decoding, and interpreting. The Osgood and Schramm model is an interaction model. The Osgood-Schramm model is an example of an interaction model of communication. Communication is continuous and conversational, where every message is meaningful. It involves a process of stimulus, response, and reinforcement, and can be analogical or digital, symmetrical, or complementary. This is described in the Watzlawick, Bevan, and Jackson model and Osgood and Schramm model. The Watzlawick-Bevan-Jackson model further explores the complexity of communication. In transaction models, individuals are both sender and receiver simultaneously. Communication is continuous and feedback is provided. Interaction and action models also describe communication processes. Communication is a continuous, endless cycle that constantly changes. It involves multi-layered feedback with oral and nonverbal communication, and is influenced by cues, context, and noise. Barnlund's transactional model captures this complexity. The transactional model of communication emphasizes ongoing dynamic communication. Shapiro and Carlson's mindful practice highlights attention, intention, and attitude. Communication is more conscious, focusing on effectiveness, and supports a model of mindful communication. Mindful listening is carefully and thoughtfully attending to messages. People skills and emotional intelligence help you understand and interact with others and make you a great interpersonal communicator. Ethical communication involves fairness, respecting privacy and confidentiality, accepting responsibility, truthfulness, freedom of expression and diversity, understanding and respect, access to resources and opportunities, and respecting individuality. Ethics are a set of moral values, and the National Communication Association provides a general credo for ethical communication.